Meanwhile, the OECD has raised its growth projection for South Korea slightly. However, there could be headwinds from inflation. The organization believes, or rather anticipates, significant increase from 3 months ago. Here's Shin Se-byuck with a breakdown of the digits.
The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, in its biennial report released on Monday, raised its outlook for South Korea's economic growth this year and also for inflation. It's a mixed picture, according to the report, of a recovery in the local economy alongside an economic slowdown globally. The prolonged war in Ukraine is pushing up energy prices and disrupting supply chains, resulting in runaway inflation and prompting central banks to tighten monetary policy aggressively. Citing these, the OECD revised this year's inflation outlook for South Korea to 5.2%. This is up 0.4 percentage points from its projection in June. This would be the highest since the record 7.5% in 1998 during the Asian financial crisis. As for next year, the OECD projects inflation of 3.9%, up 0.1 of a percentage point from its previous projection, based on the assumption that global oil prices remain around the same as now through 2023. However, there is a silver lining. The OECD expects the South Korean economy to grow 2.8% this year, up 0.1 of a percentage point from its June projection on the back of solid exports and what it calls the country's skillful management of the pandemic. This is higher than the most recent projections from the Bank of Korea and the International Monetary Fund. The report noted that in 2020, as the pandemic began, South Korea saw one of the smallest GDP contractions among the OECD countries, followed by a strong export-led rebound in 2021 and early 2022. For next year, however, the OECD slashed its forecast to 2.2% from the earlier estimate of 2.5%. The organization explains that the 2023 outlook is clouded by geopolitical uncertainties, such as the war in Ukraine and possible lockdowns in China. Meanwhile, the OECD also called on South Korea to strengthen its social safety net, saying weaknesses there exacerbate income inequality and poverty, particularly among the elderly. Shin Se-byuck, Arirang News.